feeling ugly? Get a spray tan. You feeling fat? Get a spray tan.
Get a spray tan?
There's something about being tan. It makes people hotter. Listen, it's the winter time. It's 44 degrees when I get up in the morning in Florida. That is entirely too cold. I did not sign up for that. So like my morning sun is just not as great. So sometimes you got to cheat a little bit.
Tell me about your New Year's Eve. You said you had 5 margaritas. Is that a fact? Did you counting them, or did somebody count them for you?
I just felt awful. Like, I'm like, how old am I? I feel awful after 5 margaritas. I had 2 margaritas with grandma. We took her out to dinner. Brett looks at me and is like, these beers are going down really easy. After he said, I don't really want to go out. Listen, New Year's Eve is one of the most overrated holidays. I think it is absolutely bogus. 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, Labor Day, St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo. Like, I could name like every single holiday before New Year's Eve. And I think living in Vegas kind of ruined that for me because I always either had to work or it was such a giant pain in the ass if you weren't staying on the Strip. Yeah. And if you were staying on the Strip, you gave an arm and a leg to go have some BS prefix dinner with crappy champagne toast, and you couldn't leave your hotel because it was just like, it's just overrated.
New Year's Eve sucks because like every idiot's out there and you can't, like you said, like the fixed price menus, you can't order what you want. Like, let's just be honest, like champagne sucks, right? We know that.
Unless it's like good champagne. And they're not giving you good champagne.
Like, there's no way that you're going to convince me that having a glass of champagne would be better than having a nice glass of wine or, like, for me, a glass of whiskey. There's no way. There's no way that it's better.
Okay, listen, I will agree to disagree. There is some really good champagne out there paired with some caviar or a really nice like salad, something like that before your meal that I think is very good. But I agree. As a guy, I can see why 90% of guys don't like champagne.
I'm not going to blame myself. I'm going to blame others. I felt I was a little bit overserved on Tuesday night. Too much Buffalo Trace. It wasn't my fault though.
Where did you go?
Here. We had the party here.
Oh, so you just got drunk at work.
I wouldn't say that. I didn't say drunk. I didn't say that. I just think I was just tired the next day. Overserved.
Okay. Got it. Overserved. I too was tired because I dealt with somebody who drank more than me, and that's never fun. The rule in relationships is the person who gets the drunkest has the best time. I did not get the drunkest, so I did not have the best time. We ended up going to this house party. And I'm sitting on a couch by myself watching the game. Everybody's outside enjoying themselves.
Which game? This is the Boise State game?
Penn State, Boise State. So I laid 11 with Penn State. I'm hanging out, just really enjoying myself, kind of like rooting quietly. Again, there's nobody inside the house. Everybody's outside. I'm just sitting there.
Hold on a second. Wait. I don't believe you. I think you're lying to me. You were rooting quietly. You just sat there.
Nobody can hear me cheer. I'm just sitting there by myself. And I'm on Twitter. And Brett comes inside and he's like, really? You're just going to sit in here? I'm like, yeah, I don't know any of these people outside of the 3 people that we came with. I don't really care to socialize right now. This is my focus. I was promised a nice, calming night at home. Somebody has 3 beers and gets a wild hair up his ass and wants to go to some house party, which, listen, here's the reality with house parties. They're either awesome or they suck. And when you're in heels on a backyard that's grass, so your feet are like in and out. My ankles are covered with like 40 mosquito bites. I just was like way more content with being inside and watching the game. And
can I say that I got to jump in? I have to cut you off and defend Brett because Brett is being a chivalrous guy. He's taking you out for New Year's.
He did not take me out. He wanted to go hang out with his buddies that wanted to like.
You're saying you would rather
random women in a backyard.
What kind of a woman doesn't want her man to take her out for New Year's Eve? She wants her man to just sit there and watch football on his ass.
I would have much rather on New Year's Eve ordered in, made steaks, drank wine, anything other than basically what ended up happening. Because not only that, you have to Uber. Like, okay, so like tonight I'm going to Ocean Prime. I'm going to have 2 glasses of wine.
Okay.
That's pretty much my break even, whether I have to leave my car downtown or whether I have to Uber, or if I know I'm going to get drunk, I just Uber from my house, right? We're talking on New Year's Eve, like 40-minute Uber times. So we're like at this party and I'm like, cool, everybody's ready to go. 2 out of the 5 people are hammered. Another person is well on their way. And I'm the most sober one going, shit, they're out of tequila. And everybody's trying to get an Uber ride home right now. So
what did you bring? What you say they're out of tequila? Did you bring anything?
No, we were told it was an open bar. Bring yourself. Apparently, it's like a group of people that each year switch off on who has to have the party. Listen, like I said, I just got a last minute invite. It was cool, but I'm sitting on the couch by myself. Immediately have some guy being like, "Oh, so you went to Penn State?" And I'm like, "No, I have a bet on Penn State." And I forget how usually like 90% of the world knows nothing about gambling, right?
Yeah, I think it's more than 90%. Yeah, and most of the people on gambling Twitter are the ones who know nothing about gambling. A bunch of bozos. But
well,
go ahead.
Regardless, and then this guy's like, "Oh yeah, me and my son bet on the UFC," and like he's like talking to me, and he's like,
really?
"I'm kind of like being cool about
it." Do you think he was like hitting on you, or
no?
he really cared about
his wife was to the right of him. Pretty good sized couch. They both sat down. Anyway, so I'm like, "Oh, I have Penn State minus 11. Here, this, and this." And she goes, "Did you get all that to him?" Like she knew he didn't understand. So he starts talking about UFC, and I was like, "Honestly, man, like I got a guy at WagerTalk named Yanni who does a lot of stuff with the UFC." I was like, "My buddy Kyle gives me UFC picks." I go, "I get UFC losers from John Murray." And he's like, "I don't know who any of those people are." I'm like, "Well, then you're not that big of a UFC better now, are you?" But I didn't say that. I just kept watching the game. And he's asked me, so he's like, "Does your husband fund like your gambling?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck is this guy bothering me during this game, asking insane?"
Wait a minute. Whoa. Yeah, he said there's a
wedding ring. I have. Yeah. And then he's like, "So what do you?" Then he's like, "What do you do with your gambling winnings?" I go, "Bro, do you work for the feds? Like, who are you? Like, can you like just let me watch the game?" So then I'm like, "Oh, whatever. I just have eyes focused on the game." And about 5 minutes later, a group of like 10 people all decide they want to be inside. Guess where they decide to stand? In front of the television. So now I'm standing this close in between them and the television watching the game because I'm like, well, you know what, people, you make a better window than a door. Get the fuck out of the way. But I'm not at this house ever before. I don't know who owns it. I have no idea who these people are. So I can't exactly tell them to move that I'm sitting there watching the football game. It's a bad idea. Listen, either they need to not have New Year's Eve games or there's got to be a happy medium here. Like something. I mean, when I talked to Sam Paniotovich this morning, and he said he was at a house party as well, and they didn't have the game on. I'm like, who are these monsters?
I love Sam Paniotovich. Sam Paniotovich got me that picture. It's over my head. I'm still waiting for somebody to hang it for me. But
are you incapable? Yeah. I'll get you some of those contacts.
Just incapable. I'm not. This isn't my house. I don't get to start hammering around with nails and stuff in this office, Kelly.
That's why I just told you get the ones that are sticky, and you just put it on the back and you press it against the wall. That's what that's hanging by, so I can change it out. No. It's gonna be basketball season next time we see it.
I don't own this room. I don't get to hang stuff on the walls, but somebody will come hang it on the wall. That was a gift. So New Year's Eve, we did awesome. We had because you know the books have been doing terrible in the month of December. The NFL, the favorites win every NFL game. The books had a really tough month, but New Year's Eve we did awesome. Michigan beat Alabama. LSU beat, I want to say Baylor, I think. And then we really liked Penn State, and we needed Penn State, and Penn State did get there for us. So we won all three of those games. We had a huge New Year's Eve. It was nice to see because the NFL has been a real struggle. That game on Saturday, that Bengals-Bronco game, going to overtime and then having the Bengals so that by going to overtime and put the game over. And then the Bengals scored a touchdown in overtime because they missed a field goal, and then they covered the spread. That was a disaster.
It was a disaster for me, too. It was not very much fun.
The same thing happened with the Commanders game or whatever they call themselves right now. On Sunday Night Football, it wasn't as much money as the Bengal game, but it was the same thing where they get into OT, and then they scored a touchdown to cover the spread in overtime. The NFL has been tough, man. I know nobody has any sympathy for us, and I don't understand why.
Well, somebody should have sympathy for me because I've been getting my ass kicked in the NFL.
I think people should have sympathy for me. I've got a lot of challenges.
It's not your money. That's why they don't have sympathy for you. If it was your money, they might care.
But I got to explain it. Every day. You don't have no pity at all, huh? That sucks, Kelly. Well, anyways, New Year's Eve, we finally did great. Did not really do well yesterday. And then Kelly was gracious enough to move the showtime up this morning because I didn't want to do the show during the Sugar Bowl. Because, I figure once the game starts, I'm just going to zone out.
TV. Yeah. We wouldn't even be talking. There would be 30-second lulls. Mm-hmm. Like that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it didn't make sense. Georgia and Notre Dame, Sugar Bowl today. Right now we've got Notre Dame minus 1.5. So this question we got a lot on X yesterday. We all know the game was postponed. The game is going to be played within 8 days of the scheduled date. So here at the Westgate, your Georgia Notre Dame bets are action. But you should check with whatever place you made the bet. Kelly mentioned to me that she had a bet on the game that was not action, right? And you don't know. You should check with your book. Anytime there's
I saw even Chris Andrews posted at South Point. There was no action. I thought that was kind of crazy because pretty much every other book, legal book is action, no?
But every book has their own rules, and it is. I do think. I mean, I know that like accountability now in this country is basically zero, and everybody just blames everybody else for their problems. But yes, I do believe that it is your responsibility if you made a bet to know if you have action or not, to know the rules, to seek it out and to find out. I mean, if you care enough, you should take the time to find it out. Am I wrong? I mean, do you think I'm wrong about that?
No,
like what?
Of course
Not. When has the accountability in this country gone to just zero? It's just I can't even.
I literally had a Notre Dame +2 in pocket, minus 105, and I noticed this morning it was gone, and I sent a text message. And the guy was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I will honor that. But the reality is this.
I don't want to know about this guy.
Okay. But the reality is I think he actually did feel sorry for what a piss poor NFL season I had. And he knew he didn't want me to riot. So he's like, all right, I'll leave her alone about her Notre Dame +2 bet.
I can't throw a ball into the ocean right now in the NFL. I just want it to be over.
Same. I just want the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, Florida State to win the college basketball national championship. I'll get a nice fat check.
Huh? You don't even know your pick is Florida. You said Florida.
Sorry. I want Florida to win the national championship. So I get a big fat check. I bet. Be quiet. Because I also bet them singularly. Not an idiot. I did parlay them at the Westgate SuperBook, which you can do now. But hey, look, there's been some real nice movement on the Ravens over the last couple of weeks. I'm kind of excited about that. Not so much on the Florida Gators, even though they've been kind of on cruise control since I made that bet.
Well, NFL, this is week 18. So the Ravens play. Well, do you want to talk about college football first, or do you want to do NFL? What do you
run through the NFL? You already started, so here we are.
The schedule is so weird, man. Like I barely even know what day it is. You know.
Yesterday definitely felt like a Sunday.
NFL.
So today's Thursday, January 2nd.
It's just weird.
It's off.
Mm-hmm.
Does Liverpool play on Sunday?
We got two games on. Liverpool plays Manchester United on Sunday morning.
Perfect. All right, so we'll get some more updated numbers before kickoff.
That is the biggest rivalry in English football. Liverpool, Manchester United. They play Sunday morning. I know. It's no big deal. Let's not overreact. Liverpool is in first place. There's a long way to go. Let's just try to contain ourselves.
You're saying we should bet Man City.
They're playing Manchester United.
Oh, United. Whichever. They're Manchester. Why do they have names that are similar? Make it easier.
There's two NFL teams, the New York Giants, the New York Jets, Los Angeles Rams, Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
Come on. Let me do my spiel. All right. So they
sorry, I have questions about soccer. I know nothing about soccer.
Yeah. No, you're right. That was a good question. They bet the Ravens up a little bit. So the Ravens, I guess for some reason that's an isolated game. That's good. That should be a good game. Ravens are now 18.5-point favorite against Cleveland on Saturday afternoon. Cincinnati-Pittsburgh is the Saturday night game. That's one of the only games of the week where both teams actually care. So that's good. I think they did take Pittsburgh +1.5. They moved this down to +1. And then the best game of the week, and I would say the game we've really seen sharp money on, is Sunday night. They played the Lions -2.5. We moved it to 3 here. So we're at 3 based on that bet. Lions at home against the Vikings. I'm always wrong about the Vikings. Like, to me, I don't really think of them as being that good. I always think of, when I think of the NFC, I think of Detroit and Philadelphia. And then I always think of Green Bay as being the team that has the talent to make a run. And I just forget about Minnesota. And they win every game. So
especially after I can't. Everybody wrote them off. I mean, everybody I know bet their season win total under after JJ McCarthy got hurt. Like, hey, I like Mitch Moss. Our friend Mitch Moss has Sam Darnold comeback player of the year. I know it's probably going to be Joe Burrow, but Sam Darnold, I mean,
yeah, Darnold's been great. I mean, we're
2 years
where
ago?
are you at on what do you think of the MVP? I keep getting asked this question. And like I'm honestly surprised that it's even I mean, to me, Allen is so clearly the MVP of the league. I'm amazed that it's even because I remember all the talk in the preseason, the offseason was they traded Stephon Diggs, they lost Stephon Diggs, they let Kansas City trade up over them to draft that Xavier Worthy guy, and that Allen was going to have nobody to throw to, and he managed to rip off. I think they're 13-3, and they're the 2 seed, and it's all because of him personally. That's why they're so good.
We have a mailbag question about this. So do you want to answer that now, or do you want to wait?
No. Let's do the mail. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just looked. I thought I had seen one on my X timeline pop up, but I think it's a really good conversation because, and this is a really good question because I think that, look, had Joe Burrow had a better defense, maybe we could argue Joe Burrow deserves to be in there, but his team just doesn't play. Well, they don't play defense, and that's why that game went over again.
Burrow's awesome. I mean, you know how much I like Burrow. I've said that for a long time. But Joe Burrow also has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to throw the ball to. You know, I love Sam. Sam Darnold's had a great season. Sam Darnold has Justin Jefferson to throw the ball to, and Addison's really good too. Josh Allen is basically. I mean, listen,
Josh Allen cleaned up his turnovers. That's what we kept saying before. Is like he turns the ball over too much. He reminded me of Brett Favre. He cleaned it up this year. I'll say this. Look, slight nod to Lamar Jackson. I think what he's been able to do this year. You know, Aaron Epstein said this when Derrick Henry was going to the Ravens. She thought he would be really good for Lamar. If you remember. When they were talking about Lamar's contract and his mom's his agent and all this stuff, they're like, hey, listen, he eats like crap. He doesn't really work out as well as we'd like him to. He's not as, football focused maybe. And if you know anything about Derrick Henry, like the guy's got like a private chef, whether it's at home or whether it's at the facility. And it was weird. She posted this clip because she said that she thought Derrick would be really good for Lamar. And they're like, hey, eat this cake or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm good, which was like, just have a bite of the damn cake. But he's played a lot better. Again, though, having Derrick Henry kind of takes the pressure off Lamar as well. So, look, I do think it should be Josh Allen again because the steps that he's taken forward here. Yeah. But if you just go by the stats, that's where I think you're going to get arguments for Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, right? That's kind of
Lamar Jackson, I think you can make a good case for him. The Bengals aren't going to make the playoffs.
No.
So there's no way Burrow is the MVP. I mean, fair or not. Jackson, I think you can make a case for Jackson.
I mean, he's got 43 touchdowns to Josh Allen's 28. That's
a lot. But I think part of it is, and it's, Lamar's stats last year weren't very impressive when he did win the MVP, but it was because the Ravens always had these big leads and they had the best defense in the league, so he didn't really need to. And this year, Allen's been able to take his foot off the gas a few times, but when they've needed him to have a big game, like when they won at Kansas or they beat Kansas City at home, they won at Detroit.
Those
then
are
he
two
did.
big wins.
And
that's something that Lamar wasn't able to do, right? They still lost. Granted, there's an argument there for that fourth quarter in Kansas City, but they did lose at Kansas City. I don't know how much weight these guys who get a vote on these awards get to hold for one game, right?
How come you don't get serious question? You don't get a Heisman vote? I
don't get anything vote. Nobody cares about my opinion because my opinion is real and authentic. And I don't pander. I don't bullshit. I don't do all these things that all these other guys do. I'm just so sick of the going on X and seeing some of these guys who do have a vote. I'm like, okay, well, clearly you're biased and you hate this team. Clearly you feel a certain way about
you want to call any of them out by name?
Clearly I don't have any allegiance to anyone. Like I can objectively look at the Denver Broncos. I can objectively look at Kansas State University and say what they are. And a lot of these guys can't. And I also think, again, a lot of them pander, whether it be to the SEC, whether it to be to certain players and or their employers. It's gross. They gross me out. Most of them should not have a vote.
let's talk about that, because I remember like a long time ago, it was like this big thing that like everyone would say the SEC is overrated. I thought them winning like the last like 15 national championships put that to bed. That's still a thing.
Top to bottom, they're not the best conference. They may have.
I think the Big.
Okay.
I think the Big Ten is the. Hold on. I think the Big Ten is the best conference in college football this season. But if you look at the last 25 years, the SEC is by far the best.
And how many teams? LSU got what, two in the last 20. Okay.
Yeah, they've won 3 this century. Yeah.
Okay. So
that's a lot.
Let's just go the last 25 years. Let's just go the last 25. Okay.
LSU's got 3.
Okay, so you've got Georgia.
Georgia has 2.
And you've got Alabama.
Alabama has 7.
Okay.
Florida has 2.
Florida's got 2. That's what I'm saying. But if we go over the last 10 years,
Kelly.
That's fine. But that's not Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, any of these other teams.
Their worst team didn't win the national championship.
They sit around and they jerk each other off and they chant SEC at games. Sorry, bro, you lost to Vandy. It is ridiculous. Yeah. Sorry, you lost to Kentucky at home. Yeah. You don't get to get in the college football playoff. And
I'm fine with that. I think the Big Ten was the best conference this year, and I said all along I thought Ohio State was the best team.
And when Notre Dame beats Georgia tonight, I'm going to go like this on Twitter, and they're all going to say, well, they just weren't motivated. And if Ole Miss loses today to Duke, who doesn't even have a godforsaken quarterback, they're going to say, well, they felt snubbed. Just like they said about Alabama losing just to Michigan, just like they said South Carolina to Illinois.
Alabama lost 3 games. I don't.
And they lost 4.
But I'm talking. Well, okay. I was talking about before the playoff committee announcement.
But this is what the excuse. It's an excuse. If Georgia loses tonight, it's going to be because they had a backup quarterback. Alabama, nobody cared because they wanted to be in the college football playoff. Ole Miss didn't care because they thought this is bullshit. These excuses come out of their ass because they have been brainwashed by ESPN.
I really don't think that
this is the best conference top to bottom, and it's not.
It is the best. Kelly, they win the national championship like every season.
Top to bottom, they have not been the best conference ever. They may have one team. And now that everybody else gets paid, watch that go away.
One team. Kelly, we just named 5 different schools that have won a national championship this century. How can you say they have one team?
The last 25 years. I understand that. But guess
5 different SEC schools have won the national title.
You lost to a team that hadn't done shit in the Big 12 in the last decade, who was 6-6. Right now, the best team in the South. Alabama, Oklahoma. Right now, you had almost a Big 12 team as a double-digit underdog almost beat
this argument
second-place SEC team.
This argument is terrible because I agree. I don't think Alabama should have been in the playoff. I do think the Big Ten is the best conference. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just saying to act like the SEC hasn't been the best conference in college football this century is insane.
I don't think you can say that they're the best conference top to bottom.
When you have this century,
Kentucky and Vanderbilt. I mean, come on. The only comparison to that in the Big 12 is KU. KU is the only team that sucked in football outside of their one Orange Bowl appearance this century.
I disagree. You're crazy. I mean, then what? So what is the best conference in college football this century?
Top to bottom? I'd have to really spend some time on it, but I would probably argue it's probably the Big Ten.
Spend some time on it and get back to me. Because the Big Ten has had some terrible teams.
Because only 4 teams get in. I think that's the interesting part.
Well, that's what I want to talk about. For the 5th time, I think the Big Ten is the best this season, and I think Ohio State's the best team. I'm 2024. I do believe Ohio State's the best team in the country, and I do believe that with Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon, they are the best conference. I agree with you. But we're talking about the last 25 years. It's not even remotely close. It's the SEC by a mile. That's completely ridiculous argument.
3 teams. It's not a conference.
It's actually 5 different programs that have won the national championship.
Okay, and where's Florida now? Where's Florida been in the last decade? Since Tim Tebow
the last 25 years, Kelly.
I'm just I understand. So you're pulling out
the time frame of 25 years.
Okay, you said century. I'm talking like last 10 years. Not named Alabama. Not named Georgia.
You said 25.
Okay.
LSU won the national championship in 2019.
Yeah.
LSU won the national championship in 2019.
I give LSU their flowers, but the reality is half these teams that were not Ohio State wouldn't have been in a 4-team playoff. So if you don't think that there wasn't a lot of bias,
I agree with you on that.
Of course, you have a 50-50 shot when you let in 2 SEC teams out of the 4 that the SEC is going to win a national championship.
Well, I like that argument because I do agree with you. And I think this year is interesting. In the old BCS format, the national championship game would have been Oregon, Georgia. That would have been the title game. I think in a 4-team playoff, obviously Oregon and Georgia, I think it would have been Texas. And then I don't know if it would have been Notre Dame or Penn State. I'm not sure. But I do know for sure Ohio State would not have got in. So what we're seeing this year, I know everyone's crying about the playoff, and I don't really like the way they seeded it. I mean, I really think Oregon got screwed, honestly. But the playoff is working because we have more teams in, and there are more teams that have a chance to win. I think what they should do is make it a 16-team playoff, and then all the top seeds can have a home game. I mean, not only did Oregon have to play Ohio State in the first game, which is total bullshit, honestly, they also didn't get a home game, which would have been great revenue for the school. So, I mean, Oregon really got shafted in this whole thing. I mean, I know that they got their asses kicked by Ohio State and everything's decided on the field, but that's not really fair to them. 16-team tournament, 8 home games, then go into the bowl games. I think that would be better. And the way they seeded it, having Boise State and Arizona State with bye weeks, I mean, it just didn't make any sense. But they're on the right track. And just the fact that Ohio State, who I think is the best team in the country that would have never been in the playoffs last year, is in the playoffs this year, and they are a big favorite to make it to the championship game, just proves that the playoff works, I think.
Well, I think it works better than the BCS. Now I feel bad because you were giving out sharp NFL plays, and then we went to MVP, then we went down the college football rabbit hole.
No, I like talking about college football. I think it's an interesting argument. I think it's really interesting. The playoffs really interesting. I'm looking forward to the Sugar Bowl. We got a ton of business on this game. I wish it was at night, honestly, but it's okay. I think the college football semifinals. Well, do you think
because they moved
Texas, Ohio,
and you guys didn't void it, do you think that now you have people who are kind of carrying over after what they saw yesterday?
I think we were going to write a ton of business on that game no matter what. I think if it had been last night, I think if it had been tonight, I think it's just such a big game. Those are such massive college football programs. They've got big followings. I mean, it's an awesome game. Penn State's got to be liking it. Penn State's got to be liking these two guys going head to head with each other. I'll be interested. I really will be interested to see what happens with Carson Beck. I always thought he was lousy. And I agree with you. I don't really think that's much of an excuse for Georgia not having him. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll be proven wrong about that. I never really thought much of Carson Beck.
I mean, if Gunnar Stockman, goes 17 of 22, throws 2 picks, and they lose 21-20 to Notre Dame or something of that nature.
Yeah,
he's not any different than Carson Beck.
I agree with that, and I agree with that, and I don't think that losing to Notre Dame is like a terrible loss. Notre Dame's a good team. They had that just egregious loss to Northern Illinois, but that was 3 or 4 months ago. Notre Dame is good, and Georgia losing to them is not some embarrassing disaster of a loss. In my opinion, I thought it was ridiculous when Tennessee got run out of the horseshoe by the Buckeyes a few weeks ago, and everybody was making fun of Tennessee. It's like, guys, losing to Ohio State in Columbus off the Michigan game, not that bad of a loss. That was a pretty tough spot that the Volunteers found themselves in. Favorites are 7-0 straight up and 6-1 against the spread so far in the college football playoff. You can probably guess how that's been going for the sports books.
Yeah, it's not been great, but it has been great for me because I've been a chalk eating weasel the whole playoffs.
Well, it doesn't mean, just because the favorites cover doesn't necessarily mean that the book lost. We needed Notre Dame against Indiana. We needed Penn State against Boise State. So just because the favorites cover, it doesn't automatically mean that it didn't go our way. This game here, I basically consider this game a pick 'em. We're at Notre Dame -1 because while we were talking, we had a very sharp account, took Georgia +2 -105.
Which is basically what you were looking for.
So now we are at Notre Dame -1. Remember, we booked these games day of only -105. You got the Gator Bowl tonight. I definitely saw some sharp money on Duke. Duke plus 17.5. They play Kelly's favorite team, Ole Miss. Kelly's a big fan. And then I think these are tomorrow. They laid 11.5 with Texas State. They're playing North Texas. Who would watch that? I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. And
I feel like it needs to be
I'll
like
shout this game out because my little brother, Peter Murray, my brother, is going to be at the Mayo Bowl tomorrow night in Charlotte, North Carolina, to see his Hokies take on. That's what the kid does with his time, I guess. His Hokies are taking on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. That game's been bet up from 7 to 9. My brother says Virginia Tech has like nobody playing in that game. Why is he going to the game? Me and my brother both love the Carolinas. Maybe that's why he's going down to Charlotte with the boys. We got Ohio State -6 against Texas in the Cotton Bowl. That game, I think, is next Friday night, right? In Arlington. So that number, I think that number shocked a lot of people, but Texas didn't really look good offensively yesterday. I'm being as nice as I can against Arizona State. And Ohio State looks like a machine. Ohio State killed Oregon. They got the best player in the country in that receiver, Jeremiah Smith, I think is his name. He's the best player in America. He's the best player in the country. He's unbelievable. So Ohio State, big favorite against Tejas in the Cotton Bowl. What else do you want to talk? Do you want to do another rant? Or do you want
No, I don't need any more rants. I'm good. I said my piece. Do you have anything else for the NFL?
I don't understand your perspective. But I still love you. I just don't know what you're talking about. It's like, nah, we don't need to get into it. But I just don't like how many national championships and Heisman trophies.
I don't care. Those don't matter. Do you still think after what we've seen over the last couple weeks,
championships and Heisman trophies don't matter in college football?
Travis Hunter did not deserve to win the Heisman.
Why not? What? Why? Oh my gosh!
I don't think he's the best player in college football. I don't think he's the best player. They got
the best player.
BYU. They did absolutely nothing in that game. I was on BYU +5. I didn't understand that line at all. I was like, surely these guys are going to opt out. And then Coach Prime said, no, we got them insurance policies. They're all going to play. And they got boat raced anyway.
I don't. Yeah, I know.
One of those teams, the talking heads, you know what they like to do? They love to hype up these crappy teams, all because their coach is Deion Sanders. Give me a break.
What's with you in this talking heads thing? You keep circling back to that. You don't.
They don't know shit.
Aren't me and you talking heads?
No. No, because I don't take marching orders from anybody. I'm allowed to say whatever I want. There is no script here. I got an on-screen open and a mailbag email open. That's all I got. Nobody's telling me what I can say or can't say.
You know what made me laugh? Because like everybody on gambling Twitter is just such a complete loser, you know? And there was one of the
apologies yesterday either. After all of them dragged me up, Texas up 14-0. They just dragged me. And then they just sat there in silence.
One of the comments to one of the things that you posted or the guys posted was like, oh man, these guys, blah, blah, blah. I hope they have a day job. And I was thinking to myself, like, isn't the entire premise of our show that I have a day job and that isn't that the whole show? I think that's the whole show is that, but whatever. I don't really have a whole lot else. I love the rant. It was beautiful. And I got to the one sector of people that I can't relate to. Well, I can't relate to anybody on social media, but I don't understand these guys. And maybe you can explain it to me because you're young, you're a different generation. I don't understand these kids. So you make a prop bet in a game and then a player gets hurt and you just want your money back.
That was some precedent set by sportsbooks with a lot of money.
Well, let's talk about that for a second because well, I want to talk about that because part of a player prop bet is if you're betting the over, you're betting that the player is going to stay in the game the whole way, whether you're talking about through injury or maybe the team has a big enough lead, they pull the guy out of the game. I mean, that's part of the handicap. And there are also these people out there that bet player props under, and they win when the guy gets hurt or the guy gets pulled out. I was with a buddy of mine, a mutual friend of ours. He bet the Boise State running back under rushing yards in a game this season. I forget what game it was. The kid had like 190 yards at halftime, and he didn't play in the second half. So my friend won. That part of the bet is that the guy either will play the whole game, won't play the whole game. That could be through injury. That could be because it's a blowout. Whatever the case may be, that's part of your bet. What are you crying about, man? What are you crying about, KIV? Tell me.
They all cry about it, though. It's always somebody else's fault.
I get it.
They all play these victims. They're all a bunch of crybabies. It just sucks.
It's part of the bet. It's the same way that if you have the under in a game, like yesterday, if you had the under in the Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl, that was a tough loss.
Oh, but the same guy telling me I got lucky by the refs with Arizona State also happened to have the over. I'm like, oh, I got lucky to win my bet? Are you insane?
I remember one of my
at one point in time was 36.5. Yeah, I felt pretty good about if you had an under bet.
One of my favorite gambling memories of my whole life, I was in college and me and my buddy bet over in some stupid, like, big Monday college basketball game. We had no idea what we were doing. And we bet this game over. Do you remember the Cincinnati guard, Steve Logan?
No.
Remember him? He was awesome. I think he might have been National Player of the Year. But Cincinnati was down by 2, and he went coast to coast and made a shot, banked in a shot at the buzzer to force overtime, where our game went over the total. And we were like running around our dorm room celebrating. It was awesome. But these things are part of gambling.
Yeah,
you might have a player.
I hate betting. Yeah. I hate betting totals in college basketball because if I have an over, I'm not getting overtime. If I have an under, somebody's fouling late and I'm going to get screwed or it's going to overtime every single time.
I just don't get it. When you gamble on sports, you put money in the stock market, there are risks associated with that. Be accountable for yourself. Look at me. I woke up, I saw how much Tesla was down today, and I said, shit, I'm going to have to get dressed and go to work and do the show with Kelly.
I did not look at Tesla today. I should have probably realized that. Oh,
let's do the mail.
Wait, do you have any more sharp stuff for NFL before I get yelled at? Or are you only going to give it out on last call on Sunday?
I gave you like 3 plays.
Okay, I just want to make sure that there wasn't anything else because we kind of went down the MVP rabbit hole for a second.
We did. That was my fault.
Okay, can you reiterate those 3 NFL plays really quickly?
They laid Baltimore. They took Pittsburgh, and then the play that I respect the most was on Detroit. But again, they played important that he played Detroit minus 2.5, not 3. And I have been wrong about the Vikings a lot of times, dude. Like a million.
So you're
times.
Saying you're the sharp guy that bet it, or
no? It's just I agree. No, good point. I should have. No comeback.
Okay. Well, I like the Steelers in a teaser. I also tease them with the Vikings, which is no longer available to be teased.
So if the Steelers win, or if the Steelers lose, then San Diego by winning could be the 5 seed?
I believe so.
So in theory, you could parlay Bengals to the Chargers. Because if they win, then the Chargers are going to be motivated to win.
Okay, well, let's go to the mailbag and you can talk about that. Smooth Turn on X wants to know, are there any sneaky NFL teams this week catching points that are going to play like it's their Super Bowl? And I think that is the Bengals this week.
Well, the Bengals, I mean, they have to win this game, but then they need a ton of help. What I was talking about to answer Sean is if the Bengals win, I think I have this right. I have people that work for me that have to know this stuff. I think I know this stuff. The Chargers could be the 5 seed with a win and the Steelers lost, right? You want to be the 5 seed in the AFC. The 5 seed gets to play Houston. The 6 and the 7 seeds have to go at Buffalo or at Baltimore, which are arguably the 2 best teams in the NFL. So being the 5 seed has a lot of value. Maybe you play Bengals, Chargers parlayed, or maybe you play Steelers, Raiders parlayed. Ooh. Because if the Steelers win, then the Chargers can't be the 5th seed, and they might rest some players against Las Vegas.
All right, next question. T.S. Finke says, if Saquon was to break the rushing record, would MVP go to him, or is that still a quarterback award no matter what due to the precedents? I think Sirianni already said that Saquon's going to be sacked this week.
Yeah, he did. He did. And I think,
like, can't you let him play until he breaks the rushing record and then sit him? Or is that just not worth it?
I think a running back can win the MVP. I know Adrian Peterson did it like 12 years ago. I think a running back can win the MVP, but not in a season in which so many quarterbacks are putting up these numbers like this. Look at like last year. I think Barkley maybe could have won the MVP.
He won it because there was not a bunch of quarterbacks that were.
I don't remember it enough, but this year there's too many QBs that are putting up just these massive numbers. I don't think, and like I look at it like this too. When you're talking about most valuable player, if Saquon Barkley was out for Philadelphia, the Eagles would still be really good on offense. They'd still be a very good team. If Josh Allen couldn't play for the Bills, I mean, the house of cards would just collapse. So that to me is the MVP. And Lamar Jackson, if he was out for the Ravens, they would be in a lot of trouble. Joe Burrow. I don't think I could say that about Barkley. I mean, he's the best running back in the league, but the Eagles would still be very good offensively if he was hurt.
All right, Golf Guy 91 on X says, any sharp action on upcoming, English Premier League games?
English Premier League? I don't know. No, I don't think so. The sharp what we get here on EPL is you get a bunch of people that just chase the screen around, and then you will see some sharp players on the day of the game sometimes, but we don't really get a ton of like sharp action looking ahead on EPL.
Okay.
To be honest.
All right. Danny K731 on X says, is the long teaser thinking outdated with extra points being missed more frequently, going for 2? Is the number 8 coming up more frequently? Maybe a 1.5 point dog up to 7.5 isn't valuable anymore. Hell, this year sure as fuck does not feel like it's valuable anymore.
When you're I think it's a good question. I think
has not been great, but I will say this: VR has talked about this on Sundays on Last Call, that he waits up until almost kickoff, and if a teaser is available when the line is at its sharpest, which is right before kickoff, then that's when they've found success.
That makes sense. And I think that outdated is a little bit strong, but it's everything's always evolving. The NFL is more high scoring than ever. That you get wackier scores now. Like I always joke about games landing 1. You're getting wackier numbers now because of missed extra points. Teams are more inclined to go for 2 than they used to be. And the totals are just higher. And apparently no one can make a kick anymore. I've noticed that. When did that happen? I remember at the start of the year, like 55-yard field goals were automatic, and now nobody can make a kick at all.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, I think outdated is a little harsh, but changing. It's a changing landscape, Kelly.
All right, Hanky_Dory on X says, if John Murray reported you to HR for getting Mario an Italian squeaky toy, would you report him for referring to the Washington football team as the Redskins? Well, joke's on John Murray. I'm not a Westgate employee, so he cannot. I am an independent contractor that does a podcast with him, so I don't think he can call HR.
Yeah, I don't think I could be reported to HR for calling them the Redskins because I've never said that. I always call them either the football team or the Commanders.
Okay. All right, the team formerly known as the Redskins.
The term Redskins.
Okay, John Murray. What's the Irish thing you're supposed to say? Play like a champion today.
Play like a champ. Really good business on that game, man. Like even sitting here, I've been watching my ticker while we've been doing the show. Just boom, boom, boom. Money coming in both ways. Big bets. Just took a real big bet on Notre Dame. It's just awesome handle games. I'm looking forward to the Sugar Bowl, and I'm looking forward to the remaining. No matter what happens today, Georgia and Notre Dame are 2 of the best teams in the country. They're playing Penn State, and you got Texas, Ohio State on the other side. I mean, it's going to be sweet. I can't wait.
Sweet. I will see you next Wednesday. We're going to film a day earlier. Good luck in week 18.
Wednesday. We'll do the show Wednesday so we can preview the 2 semifinals, Thursday, Friday. I'll talk to you then, kid.